In this video, I'm going to show you how to work with meta programs. The easiest way to learn about meta programs is to study them in relationship to personality types. So we start by exploring two dimensions from the Myers Briggs, and this fits in well with NLP. On the vertical axis, we have intuition versus sensing. On the horizontal axis, we have introversion versus extroversion. We get a cross and then we draw a square. Using Roger Hamilton's wealth dynamics profile, we get 8 personality types: the creator, mechanic, lord, accumulator, trader, deal maker, supporter, and the star. So starting with the creator profile. Creators love to create. They're big picture people, great with ideas, but not so good with the details and grounding their projects. They're quick to action, and their creative energy is often strongest under stress. The creator may have difficulty in completing projects though because they keep coming up with new ideas. Creators don't make the best team managers, and they're often working on another creation before they have successfully marketed the last one. Creators can also get stuck in running a business for that reason. So successful creators, they delegate everything but the creative process itself. So Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, he's an introverted creator. And to ground the business, he teamed up with Paul Allen, who's an accumulator. Now, Richard Branson, he's an extroverted creator. Bill Gates created a product, whereas Richard Branson creates businesses. And Steven Spielberg, the film director, he's also a creator type. Now, the star profile. Stars like to be in front of people, making things up as they go along. They have a charisma and a personality that makes them attractive and credible. Stars are not immodest in expressing their confidence. Now, a wealth dynamic star is different to a star in the film or music industry, who may achieve their success based upon other talents. So stars are good at shining their light onto others and making others successful. But the star admires how the accumulator is grounded, dependable, and reliable. Now, Oprah Winfrey, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Anthony Robbins, they're examples of wealth dynamic stars. So now we look at this supporter profile. Supporters, like the stars, they're extroverts. They're people. Supporters make strong leaders, and they've got the ability to galvanize the team into action. The creator, they might be great at inspiring and motivating people to action, but they don't have what it takes to hang around and do this on a daily basis. Whereas the supporter, being a bit more grounded and enjoying the process of engaging people, is able to work with the team members on a daily basis. Meg Whittam is an example of a successful supporter. So now we get to the deal maker profile. Like stars and supporters, the deal maker likes to be in front of people. Deal makers are gregarious, constantly networking and looking for opportunities to connect people together. Unlike intuitive thinkers, the sensory-based deal maker lives very much in the moment. Deal makers, they're wheelers and dealers. Donald Trump, he's a successful deal maker, being able to complete multi-million-dollar projects ahead of schedule and below budget. And the trader profile. Traders are very much sensory-based as opposed to the intuitive creators. Their talent is with timing. And you will find traders trading stocks and shares, buying and selling commodities, and renovating real estate. Traders also work in the service and hospitality industries. Singapore is a nation of trader personality types. And this is evident in the quality of service they give on the airlines, excellent service. Each passenger gets exactly the same quality of service. And the archetypal action hero is a trader personality. And George Soros is an example of a successful trader. Now, the accumulator profile. So accumulators, even more so than the traders, they like to gather information. And whereas traders make money from buying and selling commodities, the accumulator makes money from buying and holding onto an appreciating asset. And whereas the creator tends to be quick to action, the accumulator will want to gather a lot of information and reflect upon the information before making a decision. The accumulators are very much down to earth in contrast to the creator and the star. Accumulators make good surgeons because they need to gather a lot of information and get a lot of practice before they actually take action and operate on a patient. And the accumulator, they admire how the star has stage presence and wish they could also stand with confidence before an audience. Warren Buffett and Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft, are examples of successful traders. So now we get to the Lord profile. Lords, they're renowned for their thrift. They would rather work with numbers than people. They are introverts, whereas the supporter is an extrovert. And whereas the creator designs a property and the mechanic builds it, the Lord takes ownership and rents it to a tenant. The accumulator might gather and publish information on the real estate market. The deal maker might connect investors, property developers, bankers, and other key players together. The supporter might manage a team of real estate salespeople, and the star might work as an auctioneer. And you'll find lords as real estate landlords, owners of car rental firms, and behind web-based businesses where the business is renting out music and image files. Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller are examples of successful lords. So now the mechanic profile. So whereas the creator invents something, the mechanic improves upon it. Mechanics love working with systems and improving upon them. And when the mechanic manages a team, the people come second to the task at hand. In contrast, when a supporter manages a team, the task comes second to the people. When a mechanic coaches a team, the focus is on structure. Whereas when a supporter coaches a team, the focus is more on connection. Henry Ford and Ray Kroc, founder of the McDonald's franchise, are both mechanic profiles. So moving around the square, for example, we find that an introverted creator creates the first motor vehicle. The mechanic improves upon it. The Lord buys a fleet of vehicles and rents them out. The accumulator invests money in the motor vehicle manufacturer. The introverted trader might trade in shares or might deliver some form of service. The extroverted trader might sell cars. The deal maker connects people and businesses together in the transport industry. The supporter manages the corporate team, while the star is out on stage promoting the business. So are all creators the same? Are all mechanics the same? Of course not. There are differences within each of the wealth dynamics personality types. Significant differences that can make a huge difference to how the person thinks and how they perform. And you need to understand these distinctions if you want to tap into your genius. And we do that with the NLP Meta Programs. So Meta Programs, they're perceptual filters. They generally operate out of conscious awareness. They filter perception and they determine your preferences in how you think, feel, and act. For example, do you tend to focus on the negative or the positive? Do you prefer the big picture or the details? Do you prefer to gather a lot of information before you make a decision, or are you quick to action? Are you more options or procedural? Is your attention on self or other? Etc., etc. So what we're going to do is look at 23 meta programs and see how they relate to the wealth dynamics personality types. So starting with the first one, internal processes, intuition, sensing. So what are your internal processes? Do you rely upon your sixth sense and your gut feelings, Or do you give more credibility to what you can sense in your immediate environment? That is what you can see, what you can hear, what you can feel, what you can smell and taste. Intuitives are great with ideas, concepts and abstractions. They enjoy the creative process of dreaming up all the wonderful things that they might be able to bring into reality sometime in the future. But they can get out of touch with the reality of the current situation and what is actually involved in bringing the project to fruition. As sensors, they're more grounded in the experience of what is happening right now, and hence they're better with timing. Those people who buy and sell products, shopkeepers and share traders, for example, they need the ability to recognize patterns and respond to those patterns quickly in real world time. Martial artists, the paramedic, and the Hollywood action heroes such as Jason Bourne, they're good examples of sensors who demonstrate heightened sensory acuity and the ability to respond rapidly to an emergency. So looking at the wealth dynamics profile, we see that the mechanic, the creator, and the star all prefer intuition over sensing. At the other end of the spectrum, the accumulator, the trader, and the deal maker all prefer sensing over intuition. The deal maker applies their sensory ability to people, the accumulator applies it to information, and the trader applies it to the moon of the data. All right, so let's look at the next meta program. External behavior, introversion versus extroversion. So introverts tend to be quiet, prefer working with systems and things rather than people. You're more likely to find introverts in the back end of an organization, and when they do work with people, it will be where they're able to develop a deeper relationship. Even so, you may find introverts working in front of an audience, as a lawyer in a courtroom, delivering a workshop, or as an actor in front of a film crew. But as soon as they leave their favorite environment, they retreat back inside themselves. Introverts, they may work in an incoming call center, but most would get stressed working as a telemarketer. Introverts tend to think about things before they speak, reflect more before they act, may consider themselves shy, and will generally spend time by themselves or one other significant other when they need to recharge their batteries. Extroverts, on the other hand, tend to be louder and generally prefer working with people rather than systems and things. You're more likely to find extroverts working in the front end of an organization where they can have contact with more people. Extroverts tend to think aloud, like to be around people, and may find themselves the center of attention. When they get low on energy, they will want to be around more people to recharge their batteries. So looking at the wealth dynamics profile, we see that the star, the supporter, and the deal maker are out there on the world stage, whereas the mechanic, the lord, and the accumulator are often hidden away out the back. So now we look at work preference filter, people, systems, and things. So what is the environment in which you would flourish? Do you prefer working with people, systems, or things? So in general, an introvert will prefer working with systems and things, and an extrovert will prefer working with people. When an introverted therapist works with people, they will have a different style to that of an extroverted therapist. Introverts will manage a team differently to an extrovert. An introverted team leader will probably have their attention more on the structure of the team and how it works as a system to get a result. If a team member doesn't come up to standard, then their attention may be drawn to the project at hand. If this doesn't work, then they may be removed from the team. Whereas an extroverted team leader is more likely to have their attention on the person. If a team member doesn't come up to standard, then the coach may work to understand the person, and thus the team objectives may be changed. So looking at the wealth dynamics profile, we see that in general, the mechanic, the lord, and the accumulator work with systems and things, whereas the star, supporter, and deal maker work with people. So now looking at the primary interest filter, people, places, things, activities, and information. So once again, what is the environment in which you would flourish? If you were to go on a holiday, would your primary interest be in the people that were there, the places that you go to, the things that are there, the activities that you can engage in, or the information that you can learn? Work style: independent, team player, manager, bureaucrat, follower. So what is your style of working? The independent persons like working by themselves and making sure that they remain in control of their business. The team player likes to be part of a team. The manager likes to manage a team. The bureaucrat likes to keep distance from the people they deal with and enforce their point of view on others. And the follower just wants to be told what to do. Let's say we were discussing a topic on health, medicine, politics, or religion. Would your primary interest be in the person who is delivering the information or the information itself? Those who have the person as the high frame will attack the person, while those who have the information as the high frame will attack the information. One judges the person, the other judges the information. One judges the person, the other judges the behaviour. And we see this meta program played out in politics every day. And now we get to the scenario type meta program: negative, positive, pessimism, optimism. An optimist may say the glass is half full, whereas a pessimist may say the glass is half empty. A pessimist may focus on the worst case scenario, on scarcity and what could go wrong. An optimist may focus on the best case scenario, on abundance and what could go right. So depending upon the context, you sort for the negative or the positive, on what you want or what you don't want. Do you reflect on negative memories or good memories? Is the focus on what went right or what went wrong? In terms of the future, do you think about what could go wrong or what could go right? In terms of a desired outcome, do you use words that describe what you don't want or what you do want? And this brings us to the philosophical meta program of why, how. So why people will think about the origins of the present state, whereas how people think about solutions. Why people will want to understand why something happened, why the world is this way, whereas how people will just want to get results. So is your focus on the problem? Do you keep asking yourself the question why in respect of the problem? For example, why am I like this? Or is the focus on the desired outcome? Do you ask questions like, what do I want? How am I going to get it? When do I want it? Or who can I get to help me? Who do I need to be? Why do I want my desired outcome? And now we get to the time sort meta program, past, present, future. So do you have a preference for referencing the past, the future, or the present moment? In general, perceivers are more present oriented, sensors and judges are more past to present oriented, intuitors are more focused on the future. So do you know what your timeline orientation is? So in time, that's where past is behind the body and future's in front. Through time is where the timeline's in front of the body with the past to one side and the future to the other. Between time, it's like through time, except the timeline goes through the body. Some people have curves in their timeline. Some may have a fan shape. In some, the future's at an upwards angle. Some have a circle with past and future, meeting behind the body. Some have a vertical timeline with the past going down and the future going straight up. So now we get to scale, meta program, global details. So the global details meta program relates to intuition and sensing. Intuitives tend to think in global, general, and abstract terms, whereas sensors tend to think more in terms of specific details. It's the forest or the trees. So are you a big picture person, or do you prefer handling the details? You might be a big picture person, but how big? You might like handling details, but how small? And those on the political left tend to prefer concepts, while those on the political right tend to prefer practicalities. Concepts are more global, while practicalities are more specific. Now, Warren Buffett, he's an accumulator, and his strategy for success is to gather all the information on the market before making a decision. Donald Trump, a deal maker, he's able to complete a multi-million-dollar project ahead of schedule and below budget, in part because he's taken care of all the details or held others accountable for taking care of the details. Now, Bill Gates, he's an introverted creator. Even though he's able to deal with the details of computer coding, he's still teamed up with an accumulator to ground the Microsoft business. Now, the Global Details Meta Program, it's a bit weird because one type of person may handle minute details, but as they do so, in the back of their mind, they may be thinking of how the details relate to the bigger picture. So they have the ability to move from global to details and back again. Whereas another person may just get lost in the details with no idea of the bigger picture. At the other end of the spectrum, there are those people, sometimes politicians, who may get lost in their ideology at the expense of the specifics. So now let's look at the adaptation, perceiving, judging meta program. This is about controlling and releasing. So do others see you as structured or flexible? Are you comfortable with just gathering information, or do you need to draw conclusions and form an opinion? So perceivers tend to be more open-ended, whereas judges need closure. If something is not okay in the world, a perceiver will try to change themselves to fit in with it, whereas a judger will try and change others to think and behave like themselves. Perceivers are generally happy to go along with what others want to do. A judger feels uncomfortable unless they know what is going to happen. Perceivers will make a dinner date for the weekend and leave it at that, whereas judges will want to know which day, the exact time, the restaurant, and what is on the menu so that they can think about it beforehand. The perceiving judging meta program is closely related to options and procedures. So this is the organizational style meta program. So would you rather explore options, or would you rather get down to the steps and stages and follow procedures? Do you feel comfortable with having your options open, or do you need closure? Do you need to know how something is going to be done, or are you comfortable with working things out as you go along? In a conversation, do you stay on track, or do you find that your mind takes you in other directions and on to different topics of conversation? Options is a function of creativity, whereas procedures is a function of doing and achieving. So let's look at the quality of life meta program, be, do, have. So this meta program relates to the verbs to be, to do, and to have. And you're going to hear it in a person's language. So are you the type of person who just likes to hang out in your heart and just be? Or would you rather be doing something? Or is your focus on getting and having? Are you more of a human doing, or a human being, or someone who's a gonna get? And now to the internal state meta program, thinking, feeling. Do you make decisions based upon how you feel or how you think about something? Is your preference to reference your feelings or your mind? And those people whose preferences to reference their mind may be seen as logical, rational, academic, and sometimes even cold and heartless. Those people who reference their feelings may be experienced as being irrational, emotional, and as wearing their heart on their sleeve. To a degree, the feeling person is inside the cinema in their mind and therefore associated into the kinesthetics. The thinking person has stepped back from the cinema in their mind and therefore dissociated from the feeling. One is referencing the feelings of the body, while the other is referencing the thoughts in their mind. So now we get to attention direction, meta program, self-other. So is the attention on self or other? Those with a self meta program will need to take care of their own needs and wants first, while those with an other meta program will tend to put others' needs and wants before their own. Now, to achieve success at the highest level, we need to strike a balance between taking care of others and taking care of self. Most people would be familiar with the safety message given by the airline crew. Just after takeoff, if the cabin should lose pressure, an oxygen mask may drop from the ceiling. If you are traveling with a child, what do they tell you to do? They tell you to put it on yourself first. What would be your inclination? Would you put it on yourself first or on the child? Those people with a self-meta program may shift a topic of conversation back onto themselves or onto a topic that interests them. But this attention on self may have a negative side effect and result in self-consciousness. And those people who feel anxious about speaking in public are more likely to have a self-meta program. Well, at least in the context of public speaking. And the focus is on how they look, how they sound, how they feel, and what others think of them. To be a great presenter, a great performer in any context, whether that be in delivering a speech to shareholders in the boardroom, performing on stage, or making love, the attention needs to be on the other person and on how they respond to your delivery. So now we get to relationship comparison meta program. Sameness, difference, match, mismatch. So the relationship meta program measures the relationship between things, matching for sameness and how things relate, mismatching for difference and how things don't relate, and wanting either stability or change. So matches agree while mismatches disagree. A matcher will agree with that statement while a mismatcher will disagree. Matches are yes people. Match another person's body posture, voice tonality, volume and tempo, words, dress and behavior, and you build rapport. Do something different and you lose rapport. A matcher will remain with the topic of conversation, while a mismatcher will bounce onto another topic each time you raise a new point. In a learning environment, a mismatcher may find it difficult to follow a procedure. Their natural inclination may be to do things differently. In some cases, they may have a polarity response and find themselves doing the exact opposite. And as stated before, matches sought for sameness, while mismatches sought for difference. So do you like routine, or do you need to do something different? Do you like eating the same food at the same restaurant over and over again, or would you rather something different? Are there times when you eat at a food franchise and other times when you want to change? Would you travel to a foreign country and eat at a familiar food franchise, or would you explore the local cuisine? Are you happy hanging around with the same group of friends, or are you constantly on the lookout to meet new people? How long is it before you lose interest in something and you search for something new? Do you think all politicians as being the same, or do you sort for how they differ? How long is it before you need to change your job, your employer, your occupation, your car, your home, your partner? Do you follow fashion to be part of a group or to be different? Have you stayed in one job for a long time, or did you keep changing your occupation, your employer, and where you worked? So those people with a sameness meta program will look for what they themselves and others do right. They will support and encourage others towards achieving a goal. If they are sameness and details, then they will recognize incremental steps in improvement. Mismatches will point out what you have not done right and what you have yet to achieve. Those with a sameness meta program will find it easier to build rapport with another person as they sort for similarities in attitudes, values, beliefs, and behaviors, while those with a difference meta program may find it difficult to build rapport as they think about and express what is different between them. So now we get to the direction and motivation meta program, the towards and away from. So what motivates you to action? The stick or the carrot? Are you motivated to action at the thought of what could happen if you don't take action, or by the thought of what you could achieve? Do you only take action when things begin to get bad? And as things get worse, you become more motivated to action. Now, smokers, drug users, those people who drink too much alcohol or eat too much junk food may be motivated to change their lifestyle only when things get really bad. Others take a more proactive approach, and even though they may be using an away from strategy, they take care of the health before they get sick. So are you reactive or proactive? And there's a balance between towards and away from that creates like a push-pull energy that creates like a propulsion system to action. And the response meta program: reflective, inactive, active. So are you slow to action or quick to action? Do you prefer to reflect upon all facets of a project before taking action, or do you find yourself just jumping straight in and then thinking about it later? Do you need a well-formed plan, or do you work it out as you go along? So Warren Buffett, he's a wealth dynamics accumulator, and he gathers all the information on every company on the stock exchange such that when he makes a decision, he's absolutely certain of himself. Yet this wouldn't work for a creator. A creator needs to be able to take action based upon limited information, and there's no right or wrong way about this, okay? Now, in martial arts, there's no time for reflection. So the fighter must put aside all thoughts and take action based upon what occurs in the moment. So you will find that the best martial artists are probably options rather than procedural, and a perceiver rather than a judger, and their time thought is present rather than past or future. So reflection and action towards and away from meta programs, they're related to how you make a decision. We're motivated by moving away from something and moving towards something. We reflect upon the consequences of not taking action, of what you might lose if you take action, and the consequences or rewards of taking action. We weigh up the pros and cons. At some point, we make a decision. So now we look at the frame of reference meta program. It's the authority source, internal, external. So the frame of reference used in making a decision is, so are you the authority or is someone else the authority? Do you need to get permission from another person to make a decision? Or can you make a decision based upon what you know, or do you need to get someone else's opinion? Can you make the decision by yourself, or do you need someone to tell you what to do? So at times it will be appropriate to make a decision based upon what you know and who you are, but other times it could be essential to get an opinion from someone else. In most cases, an internal reference with an external check is the best option. And those people with an external reference may give away their power, like to a multi-level marketer, a guru, a religious leader, or a scripture. The person who's external in self-reference may believe in the religious scripture with the focus on self. The person who is external and other may believe in a religious scripture with the focus on converting or helping others. And then we get the reason or modal operator sort. So this is necessity or possibility. Do you take action because you need to, or are you motivated by what you could achieve? So the necessity, possibility meta program is also related to the away from, towards. So are you looking to stay out of trouble or seduced by the opportunities that life presents to you? Now, modal operators, they're those words in grammar that indicate necessity or possibility. For example, some words that indicate necessity are need to, have to, got to, must, should, ought to, it's time. And some words that indicate possibility are can do, will do, want to, may do, try to, it's possible, choose, able to. And then we get to the classification scale. This is the either, or, and meta program. So the classification meta program determines whether a person uses an or an and way of thinking. Does the style of thinking demonstrate a continuum or two discrete dimensions? Does the person think in terms of black and white or in shades of grey that join both ends of the continuum? Do they go to extremes of behaviour or do they demonstrate moderation? For example, a cigarette smoker may cut down from, say, 30 cigarettes a day to 1, yet claim that the hypnotherapy didn't work for them because, to them, smoking 1 cigarette a day means that they're still a smoker. So they go back to smoking 30 cigarettes a day. So they either smoke to an extreme or don't smoke at all. Another example comes to mind. So a woman embarks on an intense health and fitness regime for a period of time in which she reaches her health and fitness goals. Then one day she eats too much chocolate, puts on weight, and stops her exercise routine. So the client I have in mind, she actually marked out one behaviour with her left hand and the other behaviour with her right hand. She said, either I go to the gym and get fit, strong and healthy, or I eat chocolate and ice cream and get really fat. Why? So part of the solution was to help her to bring awareness to both aspects of her personality at the same time and build in a connection between both ends of the continuum such that she could eat chocolate and go to the gym. So in this way, she began the process of meeting both her emotional needs and her achieving her fitness goals. And now we get to information staging. This is the counting and discounting meta program, the foreground, background meta program. So most people would have seen the black and white image of an old woman. She looks old when you look at her one way, and then she looks young when you look at her another way. So do you notice what's in the foreground or what's in the background? Do you notice what's directly in front of your face or what's in your periphery? Is your awareness on the message that the advertiser presents to you or on what their intention might be? Is your awareness on the message that the politician presents to you or what the hidden message might be? On what the politician says or on what he is not saying? Do you take people at face value or look for other aspects of the message? When you do something well, does that count or do you discount and say, that doesn't count? When someone else does something well, does that count or do you say that's not good enough? So those people who run like a perfectionist strategy, they'll often discount what they do because it's just not good enough. So one way to build self-worth is to begin counting every little thing that you do. For example, did you dress yourself this morning? Does that count? Hopefully your answer is yes. And did you feed yourself? Does that count? Did you get yourself to work? Does that count? Can you spell your name? Does that count? You know, and so on. So when you bring something into the foreground, then it counts. When you move it into the background, then maybe it doesn't count and you've discounted it. And you get discounters may make statements like, you know, oh, but they're only a minority. All right, so now we get to the representational system meta program. This is the visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Abbreviates to VAK. So what's your preferred representational system preference? That is visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. So when people are in visual mode, they will use words that presuppose that modality. For example, words that presuppose use of the visual modality are words like see, look, show, illustrate, color, bright, sparkle, radiate. And words that presuppose use of the auditory modality are words like talk, hear, speak, have a word, sound, volume, turn it up, tempo, tune, etc. And words that presuppose use of the kinesthetic sense are feel, touch, hold, get a handle, grasp, warm, cool, get in touch with, etc. And then you get those people who are more like auditory digital. They use few sensory-based words. So now we get to the convincer representation meta program. How do you know that you've made a good decision? Is it something that you see, hear, do, or read? Or are you never really convinced? And then the convincer demonstration, this is the reassurance strategy meta program. So the convincer representation is related to the convincer demonstration, otherwise known as the reassurance strategy. So you might be convinced that you made a good decision, yet there could still be a feeling that you need reassurance. And does the reassurance come after like a period of time, or a number of times that you use, experience, or practice something? So by now, you should have a better understanding of personality types and the differences that can make a huge difference in one way or another in business, relationships, in government, in politics, in religion. Now, there are differences in personality type which, if they were addressed, could make a significant difference. And if you want to learn more about how to get from the back seat into the driver's seat of your mind, then look at my other videos. And feel free to contact me from abbyeagle.com, and I look forward to talking to you soon.